Imagine a human born with a combination of traits so rare that no one else on Earth has them. Their body can survive things that would kill the rest of us. Their brain can detect patterns we cannot see. And they can sense changes inside their own body before a machine ever could. At first, we might call them extraordinary. But there is a darker possibility. Because the first human to represent the next stage of our evolution might not arrive as part of a new species. They might arrive completely alone. One child, one genetic anomalies, one human separated from 8 billion others by a biological difference no one fully understands. Scientists would want to study them. Governments might want to control them. And the rest of humanity would have to answer a terrifying question. Are we looking at the rarest human ever born or the first human of what comes after us? So let us start with the most basic question. What would actually make this person biologically unique? We are not talking about someone who can fly or shoot lasers from their eyes. We are talking about something far more unsettling, a human whose biology operates on a different set of rules than the rest of us. For millions of years, humans have evolved in response to the environment. Cold weather gave us body hair, scarce food taught our bodies to store fat, disease forced our immune systems to adapt. Every change was reactive, driven by survival. But what if evolution stopped being reactive and became something else? What if a human was born not because the environment demanded it, but because their genetic code simply aligned in a way that had never happened before? This is not about a super soldier created in a lab. This is about a once-in-a-billion genetic combination that produces a human with abilities that seem to defy everything we know about biology. The first thing that might set this human apart is their memory. But not just a good memory. A perfect one. They would remember every single moment of their life from birth, every conversation, every face, every book, every mistake. Most of us forget things because our brains filter out what is not important. This human would not have that filter. They would absorb everything. And here is where it gets complicated. Usually when humans remember trauma, they relive it with all its anxiety, depression, and pain. But this human would recall the information without the emotional weight. They would feel the lesson but not the suffering. This would allow them to learn at a speed impossible for the rest of us, piecing together patterns in history, science, and human behavior that no one else can see. This would make them a natural problem solver, leader, and innovator. But there is a price. Forgetting is a survival mechanism. It allows us to move on, to forgive, to heal. This human would never forget anything. They would carry every detail of their life forever. There is no escape from the past, no relief from the weight of everything they have ever seen. This is the first trade-off. The second trait that might set them apart is regeneration. We already know our bodies can heal, skin repairs itself, bones fuse back together, but this is limited. We cannot grow back a lost limb or repair a damaged organ completely. Scientists have long studied animals like the axolotl salamander and starfish, creatures that can regenerate entire body parts. The question has always been whether aspects of regenerative biology could someday inform human medicine. But what if nature did it on its own? What if a child was born with the ability to regenerate tissue at a level we have never seen in humans? If they lost a finger, they would grow a new one. If an organ was damaged, it would repair itself. This is not a fast healing factor. This is a complete biological reset. However, we have no evidence that a human could consciously regenerate a limb. But if future biotechnology ever unlocked regenerative pathways already seen elsewhere in nature, the result could fundamentally change what it means for a human body to heal. There would also be a dark side. Uncontrolled cell growth is the definition of cancer. If this regeneration mechanism ever malfunctioned, if it ever went into overdrive, they would not heal. They would destroy themselves from the inside. The very thing that makes them extraordinary could also kill them. This is the second trade-off. The third trait is the most dangerous and the most beautiful. This human would have a form of hyperempathy. They would literally feel what other people are feeling as if it is their own. They would walk into a room and instantly sense the emotional state of everyone in it. Your joy would be their joy. Your pain would be their pains. This is not mind reading. It is extreme sensitivity to emotional cues. Because they can feel what you feel, they can connect with you on a level that is impossible for the rest of us. They can make you feel understood, loved, and seen in a way you have never experienced before. This is the kind of human who could bring peace to the world because they would be unable to hurt another person. The pain of the other person would be their pain. But here is the terrifying part. This empathy can also be used as a weapon. If they can feel your emotions, they can also manipulate them. They can calm you down instantly, make you angry, influence your decisions without you even knowing it. This is not mind control, but it is close. This rare human would have to walk a very thin line between being a healer and being a tyrant. The temptation to use this power for personal gain would be immense. But the true rarity is not the power itself, it is the moral restraint. The rarest human would be the one who has all of these abilities, but chooses to use them for the good of everyone else. That restraint, that humility, is the ultimate rarity. Nature needs to develop not just the biology, but the soul that can handle it. Now here is where the story takes a darker turn. Scientists studying this human eventually discover something terrifying. These abilities were never meant to exist together. In nature, evolution works through trade-offs. A strong immune system might come at the cost of allergies, a large brain might come at the cost of difficult childbirth. These trade-offs are built into our DNA. For a human to have perfect memory, regeneration, and hyperempathy all at once, the genetic alignment would have to be so precise that it might be impossible to sustain. The body would be under immense strain, the brain overloaded with information, the immune system on the edge of overdrive. This human would be a biological miracle, but they would also be fragile. They might live a short life, suffer from constant fatigue, or be unable to handle the overwhelming flood of emotions and memories. The rarest human might also be the most vulnerable human. So how would this human actually appear? There are two possible scenarios. The first is that they are created through genetic engineering. As we move further into the future, tools like CRISPR will become more advanced, used to eliminate diseases and enhance traits, making children smarter, stronger, and faster. This is not a conspiracy, it is the natural progression of technology. At some point, a scientist might combine the genes for perfect memory, regeneration, and empathy, perhaps while trying to cure a disease, and accidentally create something far more significant. The second possibility is that this human appears naturally through a random genetic mutation combined with epigenetic factors, environmental conditions in the womb that activate dormant genetic traits. The mother's diet, stress levels, or chemical exposures could influence which genes are expressed. So this human could be a product of both genetics and epigenetics, the genetic code providing the blueprint and the developmental environment determining whether that blueprint is expressed.
The conditions would have to align perfectly. And when they do, a child would be born who is unlike anyone who has ever lived. Imagine the moment of discovery. The child is born in a normal hospital. The doctors notice something unusual. The child heals faster than expected, their vital signs abnormally stable. The tests reveal something impossible. They run them again. Same result. Within days, specialists are calling from around the world. Then the story leaks. The hospital becomes a media circus. Scientists demand access, governments send representatives, the parents are overwhelmed. They did not ask for this. They just wanted a healthy child. But now their child is a global phenomenon. The scientific community wants to study them, the government wants to control them, the media wants to paint them as a hero or villain. Religious groups claim them as a sign from God. Conspiracy theorists see a government experiment. Everyone wants a piece of this child. No one is asking what the child wants. The child grows up under constant observation, never truly alone, every move documented, every word analyzed. Treated as a specimen rather than a person, they learn to hide their abilities, to pretend to be normal just for a moment of peace. The world looks at this child and sees a miracle. But the child looks at the world and sees a cage. What happens when this child grows up? What happens when they fully understand their abilities and realize they are more powerful than the people trying to control them? Will they fight back, escape, and use their abilities to gain freedom? Or will they become bitter and resentful, deciding that humanity does not deserve to be saved. We might create a being so powerful they cannot relate to us anymore, our own successor. And we might not like what they become. But there is another possibility. What if this child never realizes they are different? What if their abilities are so subtle that they just assume everyone experiences the world the same way they do? Everyone remembers everything, everyone feels what others feel, everyone heals quickly. They would have no frame of reference. They would live a normal life, go to school, get a job, fall in love. They would never know they are the rarest human to ever exist, until a crisis forces their abilities to reveal themselves. This is the most haunting possibility. The rarest future human may never know they are different until the world around them changes enough to make their difference visible. They might live their entire life in obscurity and die without ever understanding what they were. And we would never know that we had a savior among us, a glimpse of what we could become. We would remain stuck in our current state, fighting our petty wars, destroying our planet, slowly killing ourselves. This is the tragedy, not that they exist, but that we might miss them. We need to ask ourselves the hardest question. What if this rare human is not here to save us? What if they are here to replace us? Evolution has never promised that one form of life will remain dominant forever. New traits emerge, environments change, populations diverge, and over immense periods of time, entire branches of life can disappear. Perhaps the most unsettling question is not whether humans will evolve. It is whether whatever comes next will still be something we recognize as human. Maybe the rarest human of the future will never exist. Or maybe they already do. Not as a superhero, not as a perfect being, but as the first tiny biological signal of something humanity cannot yet recognize. Because evolution does not announce when one chapter ends and another begins. There is no warning. No moment when the world stops and tells a species that its time is running out. Life simply changes. One generation at a time. One mutation at a time. One human at a time. And somewhere in our future, the rarest human ever born may take their first breath. And when they do, we may not be witnessing the beginning of humanity's greatest achievement. We may be witnessing the beginning of whatever comes after us.